So a lot of you guys know that we're all star seeds from some type of star origin, and that's the truth of our design, is that we're more than just humans. We did not just come from Earth. And so as that's true, we have ancient seeded races that were on the earth in very early civilizations, the very earliest, of course, because we were first seeded from the stars. And then you have the story of the Anunnakis and how that was, they altered the DNA and the genetic material and created a lot of issues within all of the groups and subgroups. And then lots of stories and warring and things happened over many, many timelines. And as you know, there are lots of stories about the Vikings, and the Vikings are been called heathens and savages, kind of like they did with the Native Americans, savage. And if you call them these derogatory names, then you can just disregard who they are and what gifts they brought into the world, right? You can just throw them away and disregard them because you called them a bad name. And as we all know, the Romans, and with the help of the Jews, they helped to create the Christian church. And the Christian church then went on to unalive people by the millions, force them into their religious beliefs. And they even used some of the negative Vikings, because the majority of the Norse people were very, very highly spiritual Pleiadian souls. And they used the ones that fell. These are like fallen angelic Viking people who then engaged in business, if you will, with the Romans and the British, and began to take over empires and things like that, and did fallen works. However, the majority of the Pleiadian souls and the Nordic people were not like that at all. And so a lot of the spiritual belief systems for the Vikings in the ancient, thousands and thousands of years old culture that they had was extremely spiritual and extremely connected to Earth and to the stars. And they had already thousands and thousands of years ago an understanding of the tree of life. They call it the Yazogdrill. It's not my original language, so I can't on this earth in this timeline because I was raised in the United States. But they have teachings around the tree of life, and they had these sacred holidays. And what happened is the Christian church took all of those pagan religious teachings, or I should say spiritual, because they weren't religious, they were spiritual, and they took their spiritual teachings from the pagans and they converted it into a Christian belief. And now you got all these Christians out here bopping people over the head that are pagans or that are believing in spirituality or Gnostic or whatever, and they're claiming that they're the bad ones, when actually the Christians unalived people by the millions and stole those teachings and lied about them and then turned it into this fake religious story. And they really, in a lot of ways, did the same thing to the Native Americans, because the Native Americans were not native to the United States. This story is absolutely not true. It's been proven that they came from Asia and they walked across the bridge through Alaska and they got over into the United States. They traveled and they immigrated to the United States. So they're not even really original native people in this land either. And as you guys might have seen in my last video, it's also been archaeologically proven that they've found evidence that European people were in the United States even before the Native Americans, something that they didn't supposedly know before. But the information was, I am pretty sure, hidden on purpose to destroy our stories about Tartaria and the old earth and the ancient ways, and really the stories about the truth of who we are. There's also an ancient Hopi prophecy from the natives that states that there's going to be this tall white man that comes in and saves the world. And I do believe that part of what they're talking about is the return of the star beings, the return of the Pleiadian star souls. I do believe that that's the prophecy that they're referring to, because they're very connected also to the star people. And don't get me wrong, I think that together we'll save the world, all the races and all of the different bloodlines and Magi Grill, kings and queens. I don't believe that it's going to be just one group in particular, but I don't know, it could be. My point is that this prophecy is there from the Native American people, and there's even, as I've talked about in other videos, Native American writings and groups where they understood that the white man was on this land before they got here, and they've written about it, and it's been passed down in a lot of the Native Americans' generations too, but later a lot of corruption happened, and yes, there were negative Europeans that did negative things through the governments, and we all know what that means for all of us. My point is that that a lot of the pagan teachings actually are aligned with true spirituality. And the fact that I went to research what pagan holidays were used for Thanksgiving, because it's Thanksgiving tomorrow. And I wanted to see what the pagans were practicing, and because my spirit guides told me to. My spirit guides told me that the pagans were practicing a form of a harvest, a celebration for good harvest in the fall. That, and I don't know how to pronounce this word, so you can just look at this. You can just look at this and read it yourself, because it's not my native, I don't speak the language of the Nordics. I just have it in my blood, and I have the DNA here, and I have the spirit guides here, and I have the ancestors constantly pushing me to learn more about this for my own evolution and to assist the collective of the Nordic people, because you know, there's a lot of propaganda right now that is anti-white propaganda, and the truth is, and I can prove this in other videos, is that there has been extraordinary efforts to wipe out the white Nordic people, and I believe it's because of that prophecy that certain dark ET groups are trying intentionally to wipe out. We know that they've been doing this, the star seeds, the intuitives, the sensitives, the witches that they've burned all along. They've always been trying to wipe us out. And it's not just the Nordic people with the light skin and the blue hair, but it is certainly certain star races there. And in specific, the Nordic people are a very small percent of the Earth's population. Blonde-haired, blue-eyed Nordic people are less than, women are less than, I think, 4 or 6% of people on Earth. So it's actually been a systematic effort for a long time, and they've also been, in my understanding, or what I've been being shown by the guides, there's been a lot of breeding programs to kind of take DNA. And so there's a lot of issues there. But my point is that the pagan beliefs, the Nordic people from thousands and thousands and thousands of years ago, early Ice Age, and maybe even earlier than that, because these lineages are coming from the star people. And so anyway, my point is that they were practicing this harvest ceremony, this celebration of harvest season, eons of times ago, in Ice Age timelines, to honor the gods, because that's how pagans believe, and I can do another video about this too, is that they understand the oneness of God, and so they understand the value of every single individual that makes up the whole of God. The Christians came in, and the Christians wanted people to worship only one God, and they perverted things a little bit, and they also teach you to worship where the pagan gods teach you to stand up next to the gods and become the God that you're supposed to be within you. That's the culture I come from. But either way, this harvest celebration is something that has been practiced by the Nordic people since Ice Ages and beyond, because it came from the Pleiadian star seed, and it was a way to honor the higher power, the higher powers, the gods, for helping to create a good harvest that year. I hope that helped. Happy Thanksgiving, or whatever you want to call it, and have a great day. See you next. Namaste.